You won't believe what I walked into when I came home for my sister's gender reveal. My ex-fiancée, who was supposedly figuring things out, was standing there, very pregnant, next to my golden child brother, and that was just the beginning of my family's master plan to cut me out. Ever had your entire life pulled out from under you in one fell swoop? Okay, so I don't usually do long rants on Reddit. I'm more of a lurking and commenting type, but I have to get this off my chest because I literally have not slept for like 3 days. My brain is just running on rage and cheap instant coffee, because my parents buy the worst stuff. I swear it's on purpose. If you're here for drama, or have ever wondered if people are exaggerating family stories online, let me just say, I wish I was making this up, but I'm actually not that creative, lol. Also, don't message me about therapy or forgiveness, not interested. I'm not Zen, and I have zero chill left. So, if you're looking for some healing arc, you're in the wrong post. Context. I'm Marcus, 29. I spent the last year in London because, honestly, I needed space from my family and my ex-fiancée. That's foreshadowing, I guess, but I didn't know it at the time. I was supposed to come home for my sister Callie's big gender reveal thing for her second kid because my mom was on my case about being a bad son if I missed it, and blah, 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 family guilt trip, you know how it goes. They all live in a fairly average suburb, not fancy, just old houses, noisy neighbors, the same people who have lived there forever. I wasn't really excited to go, but I figured, okay, I'll show up, smile, eat some cake, try not to get into it with my brother Atlas. He's older by 3 years, always the golden child, always the one with an excuse for everything. I land at the airport, get my bags, and text my mom to say, I'm about 15 minutes out. She just replies with a heart emoji and can't wait. Which, okay, but I thought it was weird she didn't send like an actual message or ask how my flight was. I get a rideshare, and the driver is blasting some 2010s playlist, and I'm just staring out the window, thinking about how much I don't want to deal with anyone. I get dropped off, grab my bag, and walk up to the house. I can hear people inside, like a bunch of people, even though it's not supposed to start for another hour. The first weird thing, the front door is unlocked, which my mom never does. She's paranoid about break-ins. I walk in, and it's dead quiet for a second, like someone hit pause on the soundtrack. Everyone is just staring at me like I'm the stranger, and my dad is holding a tray of what looks like pink and blue cupcakes. He just nods at me. Doesn't say hi. Doesn't hug me. Nothing. My sister Callie is there with her husband. She's got a toddler on her hip and she looks at me and says, hey. But it's this awkward, fake cheerful tone, not her usual self at all. And then I see Opal. Opal, who I haven't seen in person for almost a year, who was supposed to be figuring things out while I was gone according to her own texts, is standing in the middle of the living room wearing one of those maternity dresses with the little bow tied above the belly, and she's pregnant. Like, really obviously pregnant. I'm not an idiot, I can do math, but my brain is still trying to catch up. She doesn't look at me, just kind of touches her stomach and stares at the floor. Atlas, my brother, is standing next to her, and he's got this smug little half smile, like he's just waiting for me to react. I just stand there for a second and ask, what's going on? My mom just starts clapping, like full-on clapping, and says, finally, we're getting grandkids. And then my dad, who's never been subtle, says, well, we figured it's time to get serious about family, so we're giving the trust fund and savings to Atlas and Opal. Babies aren't cheap. Like it's some big game show prize, like I'm supposed to be happy for everyone. Honestly, I thought maybe I was being pranked, like maybe someone was filming me for some weird TikTok trend or whatever, but no one's laughing. Callie, my sister, pipes up and says something about how Opal finally upgraded brothers, which just makes me want to punch a wall. Her husband just stares at his phone like he wants to disappear. And Atlas? He puts his hand on Opal's belly and says, thanks for letting her go, little bro. Like he's doing me a favor. I just lost it. I yelled. I told Atlas he was a snake, told Opal I hope she's happy, told my parents they were out of their minds if they thought I was just going to hand over my money like that. My mom tries to play peacemaker, but she's got this weird look, like she's enjoying the drama. My dad just tells me to grow up and accept reality. Atlas actually laughs at me, which, if you know anything about sibling rivalry, is basically the nuclear option. I try to get past them to go upstairs and grab my stuff, but Atlas blocks the stairs and tells me I'm not welcome in their house if I'm going to act like a child. So I shoved him, not even that hard, and he shoves me back. My mom screams at us to stop, but she doesn't actually do anything except wring her hands and tell us to behave. Opal starts crying, but it's hard to tell if it's real or just for show. Callie takes a video on her phone, I guess for proof or blackmail or some family group chat I'm not in. At one point, my dad gets between us and says, if you're going to ruin the celebration, you can find somewhere else to stay. So fine, I left. I slammed the front door so hard the little plastic wreath fell off. I didn't even have a plan. I just dragged my suitcase down the street, booked a hotel from my phone, and sat in the lobby for like an hour trying to process what just happened. I texted some friends, but no one answered, probably because it was the middle of a weekday and people have jobs. I ordered some takeout and just sat there eating cold fries and checking my bank app every 5 minutes because I started to get paranoid about what my dad said about the trust fund. Here's the wild thing, no one called to check on me. Not my mom, not my sister, not even a fake "are you okay?" from Opal. The only message I got was from Atlas, and all it said was, "Don't make this harder than it has to be." The dude legit thinks he's in the right. I didn't cry, not because I'm too tough or whatever, just because it didn't feel real enough to cry about. It felt like I walked into the wrong house and everyone just decided to gaslight me for fun. That night, I started making lists. I wrote down every account, every asset, every single thing my parents ever managed for me. I started Googling lawyers. I started thinking about who owes who money, all the little family secrets and grudges that never really go away. Here's the thing about Atlas, he's always been jealous. He used to say I got more attention, I was the good son, even though he was the one who got away with everything. My parents never really called him out, they just covered for him, acted like his messes were everyone else's fault. So when Opal started coming around more, even after we broke up, I should have known something was up. I just didn't want to believe my own brother would do that. I guess that makes me the idiot. So yeah, that's where I'm at. The family is acting like nothing happened, like they're the victims and I'm just supposed to roll over and hand everything over because family. But I'm not wired like that, and honestly, I'm done being the nice guy. I'll update if anything actually happens, but trust me, I'm not letting this go. And if you think this is bad, keep reading, because it gets a lot uglier. Edit, don't bother telling me to just move on. I'm not built for that. Revenge is coming. So here's something I didn't expect after that meltdown family party fiasco. Like, you ever just get this feeling you're being watched, even though you know it's not true? Not like a horror movie vibe, just every time I walked past the lobby at the hotel, I was sure someone would pop out and start scolding me for making a scene. But nah, nobody did. Nobody called. Nobody cared. Until money got involved. I should have known. So, first weird thing, I'm scrolling my phone the next morning, just doom scrolling honestly, and I see a notification from my banking app about a pending update. Not a transaction, just a pending update. I'm half awake so I ignore it, but then I remember what my dad said about the trust fund. I open the app. There's a message about verifying beneficiary changes. I sit up so fast I smack my knee on the little coffee table. I text my dad, like, "What is this?" He doesn't answer, but then I get a call from a private number. I let it go to voicemail. When I check it, it's my dad, all formal, saying, "Marcus, it's not a big deal. Let's talk in person. I'm just trying to make things easier for the family. Let's just say my not a big deal radar is now permanently broken." So I call the bank directly, get bounced around, finally talk to someone who says, "Yes, there's a request to transfer authority on your account, but nothing's gone through, sir. We need your signature." I say, "Do not let anyone touch it." The guy says, "Of course, sir, but you should come in." I get dressed, walk the couple blocks, stand in line forever, talk to the branch manager. She pulls up my info, frowns, and says, "You know, it's not the first time someone's tried to move this account." I just nod. She prints out some forms, highlights a few things, tells me to sign here if I want to freeze any changes, so I do. She says, "You might want to talk to your family," but I laugh and say, "Not likely." I go back to the hotel, order some breakfast, and just sit there stewing. The whole family is acting like I'm the one who blew everything up. I get a message from my mom, basically guilt-tripping me, saying, "Marcus, you're tearing us apart. Can't you just support your brother and Opal?" I don't answer. She follows up with a picture of a baby onesie. I delete it. Then she sends a wall of text about how family comes first and I'm being selfish by not helping with the new baby. I start thinking about ways to make their lives harder, not just block them. I start with the stuff I know they care about, appearances. My dad and Atlas both care what extended family and old friends think. So I text my cousin Gustavo, who knows everybody, and I just say, "Hey, if anyone asks, I am not on board with anything happening at home, and I did not give permission for my trust fund to change hands." Gustavo replies, "Whoa, what's going on?" I say, "Long story, just don't believe anything you hear from my parents or Atlas." That's all it takes. By lunchtime, I get a text from my Aunt Fiona asking if I'm okay and what's actually happening at home. I just reply, "Things are complicated, but I'm not letting anyone steal from me." She leaves it at that, but I know she'll talk, she always does. Next, I start locking down every account I can think of, old email logins, two-factor stuff I barely use. I change every password, remove every backup number that could lead to my parents' house or Atlas's phone. I call the utility company about my name on any bills, just to check. Turns out nothing's changed. I tell them, if anyone tries to add me, call me first. I start going through receipts, emails, every text I can find from the last couple years. There's a string of messages from Atlas basically begging for money last year. I forward those to myself, save them in a folder. I find a couple emails from my dad about borrowing money for repairs that never actually happened. I print those at the hotel just in case. Later that day, I get a message from Callie. She says, "I know you're mad, but you're making things harder for everyone." I reply, "Maybe you should have thought about that before laughing in my face." She leaves me on read. Then Atlas tries to call. I don't answer. He calls again. I answer, and he immediately starts in with, "Look, man, you're blowing this up." I say, "I know what you're trying to do, and if you touch my money, it's war." He laughs, says, "You always think you're smarter than everyone." I hang up. Later, I get a knock at my hotel door. I look through the peephole, nothing. Then a minute later, my phone buzzes. It's Opal. She says, "Can we talk?" I reply, "Nothing to talk about." She says, "You can't just do this to us." I say, "Watch me." The next day, I show up at my parents' house while I know they're out. Callie's car is there, so I knock. She opens the door, looks annoyed, says, "What do you want?" I say, "I'm here to get my stuff." She rolls her eyes and lets me in. I walk upstairs, start packing up the last of my things, and hear Callie on the phone in the other room, whispering. She hangs up, stomps into the hall, says, "You're being dramatic." I say, "You're not in this." She snaps, "Actually I am, because now mom is crying every night and dad is stressed and Atlas is in a bad mood all the time." I say, "That's not my problem." I finish packing, go downstairs. Callie blocks the door, arms crossed. She says, "Can't you just let it go?" I say, "Move." She doesn't, so I push past her, not hard, but enough for her to stumble back. She slaps my arm, says, "You're such an ass, Marcus." I leave, slam the door behind me. Back at the hotel, I start making a list of everyone who needs to know what's going on: bank, lawyer, extended family. I email the family lawyer, the same guy who did my parents' will. He's ancient but sharp, and I just lay it all out. He replies, says, "Don't sign anything, don't agree to anything, and if anyone harasses you, keep records." I forward everything to him. That night, I get a string of texts from my dad, all angry, saying, "You're embarrassing the family and making things harder than they need to be." I reply, "You made your choices, now live with them." He doesn't answer. The next day, I get a call from Atlas again, and this time I pick up. He says, "You're not going to win, just let it go." I say, "It's not about winning, it's about not getting screwed." He says, "You think you're so much better than me, but you're just selfish." I say, "Whatever helps you sleep at night." He hangs up. Next, I start talking to a couple of my old friends who know the family. Nothing dramatic, just letting them know, I'm not part of whatever circus is happening at home, and if anyone tries to drag me into it, I'll go public. One friend just says, "Damn, man, that's rough." Another says, "I always knew Atlas was a snake." Little by little, the word gets around. I start getting weird texts from numbers I don't know, people asking what's going on, is it true what they heard about Atlas and Opal, stuff like that. I ignore most of them, I'm not here to play PR for my own family. The family group chat is dead. No one posts, no baby bump pics, no memes, just silence. My mom tries calling again. I let it go to voicemail. She says, "I hope you're happy, you're ruining everything. We just wanted what's best for the family." I delete it. The thing about Atlas is, he's always been jealous. He's always wanted to be the guy in charge, the one people look up to, but he doesn't want to put in the work. My parents enabled him for years because it was easier than dealing with him actually failing. He treats me like I'm the problem because if I'm not the problem, he has to look at himself, and he's never been good at that. So now I'm just making it clear to everyone, you can try to take what's mine, but I'm not going to let you. I'm locking it all down, telling the truth, making sure every door is slammed in their faces before they even get to it. I'm not done. This is just the start. If you think this is petty, you haven't met my family. Wait until you see what happens next. So I figured after freezing everything down and letting the family stew for a few days, they'd at least try to play it smart. You'd think, right? Nope. These people are stubborn, like Olympic level stubborn. I started noticing the little things too, like Callie posted a pic of her kid's lunch on her story and then deleted it 5 minutes later, which is not her usual. She's usually all over group chats with every tiny detail. So I checked the family chat, still dead quiet, not even a meme. It's so awkward it's almost funny. I actually ran into Callie at the grocery store. I was grabbing snacks because I couldn't stomach any more hotel vending machine food, and she's there with her kid and gives me this look like I'm a ghost. She doesn't say hi, just kind of shuffles past me, and her kid tries to wave but she grabs his hand. I say, "You can relax, I'm not here to fight." Callie just shakes her head and says, "You know you're making this worse, right?" I tell her, "I didn't start this." She says, "You always have to be right, Marcus." She's got that tone like she's tired, like she wants out but also doesn't want to pick sides. I just grab my snacks and pay. I hear her mutter something about drama as she leaves. Back at the hotel, I get a text from Atlas. He says, "Just so you know, you're not ruining anything for me." I ignore him. Then Opal texts, but it's some long rant about how she never wanted to hurt anyone, she's just tired, why am I doing this, blah, blah. I reply, "You made your bed." I block her. The lawyer calls. He says, "Your dad tried to set up a meeting with me, wanted to clarify some paperwork." I tell him, "Don't meet unless I'm there." He laughs, says, "Already handled." Your dad left pissed. He also tells me, "By the way, I checked the trust. Legally, you're locked in. Nobody can touch it unless you hand it over, not even if they whine to every bank in town." So now I'm thinking, why not make things really uncomfortable? I start going through every old message and bank transfer I ever did for Atlas. I make a neat little document of every time he borrowed money for emergencies, concert tickets, new phone, bailouts for dumb stuff he broke. I email it to my parents with the subject, "Here's your golden child's track record, since you're so keen to hand him everything." No reply for a whole day. I take it up a notch. My parents always cared what the extended family thinks. So I start making calls. I call my Aunt Fiona, who's always the first to know anything, and just say, "Heads up, there's going to be a lot of noise soon, but I'm not backing down." She says, "Marcus, I know you and Atlas have issues, but this is family." I tell her, "Exactly. And family doesn't get to rob you and call it love." She sighs and says, "Well, you do what you have to do." I know within an hour she's already texted everyone else. The next day, I get a string of messages from my mom, all in a row, about how I'm embarrassing her, how I'm making things harder for Opal, the baby, everyone. She says, "Why can't you just let it go, Marcus?" I reply, "You made your choices." She doesn't answer. But then my dad calls, angry, saying I'm blowing things out of proportion, that I need to come home and talk face to face. I say, "I'll come by to get my mail," and that's it. So I show up at the house. Atlas is there, standing in the kitchen like he owns the place. He tries to block me. I say, "Move." He says, "You going to hit me again?" I say, "Maybe if you keep running your mouth." He shoves me, I shove him back harder. He says, "You're pathetic, Marcus, nobody's on your side." I laugh and say, "Neither are you, apparently." My mom comes running in, tries to get between us, but she's just wringing her hands and saying, "Boys, please, don't do this." I tell her, "I'm just here for my stuff." She says, "You don't have to make a scene." I say, "Then tell Atlas to get out of my way." I go upstairs, grab my last box of junk, and on the way down, I see Opal standing in the hallway holding her stomach. She tries to say something, but I just walk past. She looks tired, like she hasn't slept. I don't care. I get to the door, and my dad's there. He says, "Marcus, don't do anything stupid." I say, "Too late for that, right?" I walk out and slam the door. So now the family is officially split. My parents are mad, Atlas is furious, Opal is miserable, Callie is just trying to not get sucked in. Even my aunt texts me to say, maybe it's time to just let things cool off. I don't answer. The next day, Atlas tries to get a loan for a new car. The bank calls me because my name is on some old paperwork from years ago and asks if I'll cosign. I say, absolutely not. I also mentioned, BTW, you might want to check his credit history since I had to send my parents a full record of his borrowing. The woman on the phone just says, thanks for the info. Opal's mom calls me out of nowhere. I don't have her number saved, but she leaves a voicemail saying, is it true what I'm hearing about the family? I just text back, ask Opal. She doesn't call again. Then I get a message from Callie's husband. He says, hey man, I know it's not my business, but your parents are freaking out and it's getting ugly. I tell him, tell them to stop trying to rob me and it'll stop getting ugly. Later, I'm at the hotel trying to fix the Wi-Fi for the third time. Seriously, how is it this bad? And I get a text from my mom, I hope you're happy, you've destroyed our family. I reply, you did that on your own. I hear from the lawyer again, my dad tried to get him to rewrite some paperwork, but he refused. He says, your dad's desperate now. I say, let him be. The best part? Word gets out to the extended family, and suddenly Atlas is getting cold-shouldered at every family event. My Aunt Gustavo, yes, that's her name, long story, sends a group text about how family means nothing if there's no trust. I don't reply, but it feels good. Atlas tries calling again. I answer. He says, you're ruining everything for no reason. I say, you did it to yourself. He says, you always think you're better, but you're just bitter. I say, at least I'm not a thief. He hangs up. So yeah, now it's all out in the open. No more secrets, no more pretending. I'm not the family's punching bag, and I'm not their bank account. They can fight among themselves now. Next update coming if they try anything else. I'm not done. So I didn't think it would get weirder, but it did. You know how sometimes you think you've seen every way your family can disappoint you, and then they find a new level? Yeah, that. The first thing I noticed was my dad's car wasn't in the driveway for like 3 days straight, which is weird because he never goes anywhere except the grocery store and those terrible golf meetups with his old friends. Then my mom starts texting me, not to apologize, but to ask if I have any idea why the utilities are all suddenly in her name and she's getting bills for things she never saw before. I just text back, you'll need to talk to whoever thought they could sign for me. She tries calling, I don't pick up. She leaves a voicemail saying, you're being childish, Marcus. We're family. People make mistakes. You're not perfect either. I delete it. My WhatsApp goes nuts. I mean, I didn't even know I had that many family members on there. 60 unread messages in like 2 hours. Callie sends a voice memo that's basically her sighing for 10 seconds and then saying, I can't believe you're dragging this out. Just come home and talk it out. Then another from Atlas, sounding all tight and angry, saying, you did this. You happy now? I'm at the hotel scrolling through emails and I get a notice about some mail being held at the old house. So I go over, ring the bell, and Opal answers. She looks tired, and her hair is a mess, which is not her usual. She says, I don't want to fight, Marcus. I just say, I'm here for my mail. She hands me a stack and tries to say something about how they're stressed and I could help, but I just walk out. She slams the door. The next day, I get a text from my dad, all caps, saying, you are destroying this family. I hope you're proud. I reply, you did this to yourself. He doesn't answer. My Aunt Fiona calls, which is rare, and tries to play peacemaker like always, but then she slips and says, well, you know Atlas has always felt like he had to fight for everything with you around, maybe you could just. I cut her off and say, no, I'm not giving him any. She says, you're both stubborn, that's your problem. I hang up. I go to the bank to make sure everything's still locked down, and the woman at the counter gives me this look like, oh, it's you again. But she checks and says, you're fine, nothing's changed. Do you want to update your info? I say, yeah, new email, new phone, and set up every alert I can. Later that night, Atlas tries calling from a different number. I answer because I'm bored and curious. He says, you're ruining everything. Mom's sick about it. Opal's stressed. This is all your fault. I say, you could have not screwed me over. That would have been cool. He starts ranting about how I always get what I want and I'm just selfish and he's the one who's stepping up now. I say, you're not stepping up, you're just taking what's easy. He hangs up. The next couple days I start getting emails from random family members, people I haven't talked to in years. Some taking sides, some just asking for my version. Nobody actually wants the truth, they just want it to be quiet again. Callie texts saying, you could at least talk to Mom, she's not sleeping. I say, she can talk to her favorite son for once. The lawyer emails me, says everything's still secure and he's flagged my file so if anyone tries anything I get notified. He also says, by the way, your dad tried to claim you'd signed something you didn't, but I checked the signature and it's not even close, so I shut it down. I just reply, thanks. So now the group chat is basically on fire. My mom tries to guilt trip everyone, sending baby bump pics and old photos like that's going to fix anything. Callie leaves the chat. Atlas sends a message saying, I hope you're happy with what you've done. Nobody answers. The last thing that happens is I get a letter from my dad, like an actual paper letter. He says, we always did our best. You don't know what it's like to have a family fall apart. You should be grateful for everything you've gotten. He tells me they're cutting me out for good, that I'm on my own. I laugh because that's what I wanted months ago. I take my mail, my documents, and book a new place. I leave the hotel, send my lawyer the update, and set up all my accounts so nothing can be touched by anyone but me. I get a text from Opal, last attempt, saying, I hope one day you can forgive us. I delete it. So now Atlas is stuck with a baby on the way, no money, no parents to bail him out, and nobody answering his calls. My parents are too busy fighting with each other about who's to blame for losing the money. Callie is pretending she never got involved, and I'm out. No apologies, no peace, just real life. I'm not saying I won or lost, just that I'm not letting them walk all over me ever again. If anyone's waiting for some big reunion or forgiveness arc, it's not coming. Sometimes you just burn it all down and walk away. And yeah, if I see another gender reveal invite, I'm moving to the moon.